we have here is a standard Viton valve seal. So the next step on the Prelude is to go ahead and install this. Now there's a trick to installing these to make sure you don't damage them, unless you've got, of course, proper tool that actually sits on there. Now if you look at this real carefully, you'll see there's a metal shell, and it's got the little rubber lip on there. Now that rubber lip and all is formed inside that shell. You do not want to put any pressure on that rubber. Okay, so what you're actually going to do is you want to find a socket, and on many of these, depending on the size, it's usually going to be like 11 mil or 7/16 socket. That one down there may actually fit it. You want a socket that's going to fit over the metal without actually touching the rubber. You need to leave a little space in there. What ends up happening is as the this goes down on the valve guide, when you press this down on there, you want to get this all the way down the bottom of the valve guide, but like I said, you want to make sure you don't nick that rubber at all. So you just put a socket over it of the appropriate size and pop it down on there. So let's go do it. So first you want to just set the seal in place. Then take a socket and very carefully push it straight down. You'll feel it kind of pop into place.
It popped on there.
Did you feel it?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Just kind of make sure you square it up.
Yeah, make sure it stays good and square on there. If you need to, you can tap it lightly with a hammer, the socket that is, but we're talking like very light taps.
This one looks like it's cockeyed.
Yeah, if it's cockeyed, it's not going to push on. That's part of the reason that I like pushing them on instead of tapping them on. It's just that way, if it does get a little cockeyed, you haven't put so much force on it that you can't get it back off without destroying it. So here, I'll give you guys a close-up on pushing one of these in. Get in place, get her in there, and then
Alright.
I don't think that one pushed down all the way down, did it? Hold this real quick. Let me get 2 thumbs on there. 2 thumb powers. That might be one that ends up getting a little tapped down. It's not uneven anymore, though. It's just stiff. So let me grab a little hammer and I'll show you guys tapping it. Alright, so get in here. There we go. Yeah, clicked in. Ba-ding! Like I said, you don't go crazy with it. Don't bang and hammer the sticking thing in.
So I'm going to line them all up on here, try to square them all up first, and then put it back and go. And then start pushing them on.
Yep. So, I'm going to let Keeb get to work on that. See? There it is. Boop. And now the actual valve seal has enough pressure to keep that from coming back up. Ding. So there's 2 intake in. I'll go and let Keeb get the rest of these guys in. Now keep in mind, you have to keep all those valves in order from when you ground them. And see the valve seats all look good. I mean, this really did come out good. I mean, seriously, dude, I'm pretty impressed with this, considering, I mean, this is about as low buck as you get. But I'm pretty impressed with how this guy's come out so far. It'll be nice when we get it all together and we see what kind of compression all we actually have. But, alright, I'll let Keeb get back to it. Keeb is very carefully just scraping the last bits on here before we go lapping the block. We're actually going to hand lap this. You guys are going to see some old school machine work. But for right now, we're just going to finish cleaning the block before we go ahead and start lapping it with a lapping stone. As far as Prelude goes, we got the motor out, obviously. We got it all disassembled. See the entire block here we've cleaned down. I don't know how dirty you could tell it was before, but it's definitely cleaner now.
Filthy.
You see we took the oil jet and all out of here. So once we get through cleaning the rest of this gasket bit off, after we've scraped it down, we'll go ahead and start working on lapping and cleaning it down completely, making sure it's all nice and flat, so that head gasket's got plenty to bite into. So that's where we're at so far with it. and see which side's been scraped and which side hasn't. So here's what we're going to use, some CRC cutting oil with a machinist stone. There you go. All right, so we're going to...
Still stay on the stone.
That's...
On the rough side first,
Get plenty of here on there. Plenty of lube. All right. Get plenty of cutting oil. You want to move one direction. And you're basically just ever so slightly grinding that top. No real downward pressure. Let the block do the work.
Not really counting the passes. On the last time I did about 20 or so passes on the rough side and then 20 or so passes on the smooth side.
Then you figured eight it.
Yeah. Of course I can, feel. See what kind of...
Yeah, you're doing this by feel. This is old school here. You'll kind of feel when it's gotten as far as it's going to get with that.
I already feel is really good.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, we'll have to clean. We can wipe it down a little in between. But you're not applying much downward force at all, right?
I'm basically just holding enough so it doesn't skip up in case it hits a little.
Yeah.
In case it hits a little high spot.
Now your stone, you want it to be wider than the. You want to be wider than the piece you're working on, so that's not an issue here.
And try to keep it in the center, because if you catch one of the edges here,
you'll nick them.
You'll chip the stone. I did that on previous engine.
You need a little more oil, or is it feeling good still?
Switch sides and wipe it down. Switch sides to a couple passes and then wipe it down. Quite a bit of oil here.
Oh yeah. You want some more oil?
Yeah, a little bit of oil on the smooth side.
I don't know what I do with it.
It's right here.
Yeah, you got it. Spread it around a little.
Get my hand on the stone with too oily. I'm gonna drop the stone.
Yeah, don't do that. Oh God, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to clean it down in between passes?
You can feel the smooth side.
Yeah, you can feel when it's
some of the
scratched.
gritty spots. See where it slows down.
Mm-hmm. It's probably where we don't quite have the gasket material off yet. You may want to hit it with a couple more of the rough stone. What do you think? Or is it feeling pretty good there?
It's cleaning it up.
Okay. It's sliding smoother and smoother, yeah. You just keep doing that until you get a good smooth action.
Yeah.
You want some more oil on the block? You're still doing good. Never had too much oil. Oil. Here. Where do you want? Spray the block? Spray the
block. Focus on the center areas.
And naturally, we'll be cleaning this thing down afterward. You hear it moving over everything. How's that feeling?
That feels good.
You want some clean paper towels to wipe it down, or do you want to hit it with a couple more passes?
I want to feel it first before I start doing the figure eights. Sets down here. Actually, I want to set it down somewhere. It'll fall. I'll be really tall.
Yeah. Here you go, clean paper towel.
Yeah.
We're professionals. And you can see just how smooth. See how the surface is getting good and smooth there. Still got a little bit there on there.
But we're not putting a metal head gasket on this, so I mean, really,
No,
this is certainly
But
going to
again, the figure 8 will take some of that too.
exactly.
I'm feeling for any really rough. It already feels 10 times better.
Oh God, yeah, are you kidding me? Nice and
Just
smooth.
that a little bit. I mean, versus DIY, 2 guys in a garage.
Well, we didn't want to spend the money on actually,
Well, it didn't really look like it needed to be dead.
No, it was in good condition. We're just cleaning it up. That's
This
all.
is just kind of showing that if you can do this kind of stuff, you don't have to pay a machine shop. Never a bad idea, but
Yeah.
fall on a budget. If you got the equipment, why not? Give it a whirl. Worst you're gonna do is F it up and get it decked anyways.
That's true. Just true. Ready to start figure 8s?
Yeah. On my rough side.
More oil on her.
Actually, I'm gonna hit up just a couple more passes with the rough side because like you said there was a little bit right here.
Did you want some more spray? We good on all. Doesn't seem like it's catching or anything. How's it feel?
Rough side's not catching at all.
This the rough side?
This is the rough side.
Give me a little more rough work. And again, no real downward pressure.
Switch it over to the smooth side.
Couple catches.
Actually, that was more like the fluid in the holes. Creating a little bit of suction. Oh, yeah, it's getting much smoother. I'm gonna start doing some.
You want some more oil?
Small, just a little bit more. I'm gonna start doing. Good.
Get some figure 8s.
Yeah.
Now, when you're doing this part, you want to make sure you don't stay in any one spot for too long. Otherwise, you're going to cut uneven.
And this, you want to put even less pressure. I mean, you want to just kind of let the weight of the stone do its thing.
Yeah.
I'm just holding it from popping up. One finger pressure on it. And you can kind of hear the couple rough areas it's catching.
And it cleans it up. You want more on her?
Yeah, just a little.
Don't want the stone to get dry.
No.
Make sure the stone stays nice and oiled while you're doing this. It's like wet sanding.
Keep your circles small too. If you get too wide, you nick the corner of that stone on one of those open ports, especially inside your freaking cylinder wall. Because not only you ruin your stone, you gouge your cylinder wall.
Yeah, don't do that. Not unless you intend to overboard anyway.
I speak from experience. And speak it.
That's how you learn, man. All right.
This feels pretty good. Wipe it down again.
All right, let's try this again, and if this time it works, I'm gonna edit this to the other one. Yeah, that's how we normally do things around here. And of course, we have to completely wash the block again, very, very
Get all
thoroughly.
that grit out of there.
Exactly. You don't want to leave any of that in there.
Oh yeah, I feel that surface, dude.
Nice and smooth.
I like it.
Now, I've got a granite stone block as well that we'll be using just to make sure it's all flat. I don't have a machinist straight edge, so that's what I got.
I want to go ahead and let me grab that while you got the camera rolling. Or you want to make it?
Well, no, we'll wash it and then we'll test it.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, so
Wash.
we'll clean her again.
This is a granite block.
Granite block is down. If I remember correctly, when I bought this, is actually ground flat to a millionth of an inch. So it's extremely flat. So what I can do is take this and I can measure along the deck surface. Now, you got the Prelude manual, the actual service manual, says that 0.1 millimeter is the maximum warpage allowed. So this is a 0.04 inch or 0.102. So what I'm going to do is take this 0.102 millimeter. I'm just running along the edge here, and I'm seeing, it's a feeler gauge. I'm just seeing if it slides up underneath anywhere. If it does, I know I've got too much warpage in the block. And now when I test this, I'm testing it across, and I got to make sure I'm not rocking anywhere. I got to make sure it sits nice and flat. And of course, obviously, there's a jacket there. Of course, it's going to go in there. But I'm testing the metal, especially in between, like the cylinder, in between the cylinders. That's all good. Turn her over here. Make sure it doesn't rock. And again, right there, I expect it to go underneath a little bit because, hey, it's cooling jacket. But in between my cylinders, it's great. And I'll test along this outer edge. I'll come around a second. And test around this outer edge here. Again, there's a jacket right there. So I'm going to test on here. It's looking good. Not sliding up under. Alright, so we're good. This block exceeds minimum warpage. So I'm going to put this back into the cutting. So we've tested that out. So that block basically is now ready for reassembly. Bare block, nice and clean. We got this all straightened out. We've got all of our main caps and all here that'll be going back on.
You actually have to put it in the frame. You didn't even show it in the frame.
Right, this should have been in a frame. Yeah, see, it's dark. So there's the main cap. Of course, need the main bearings. So we got our main bearing set. These are just standard size. We're not cutting the crank or anything. Baller's on a budget. Elastic gauge. We have the red and the green. We'll be using the green. The crankshaft's over there and it's heavy. We're not going to pick it up because we're lazy. So the first thing we got to do is go ahead and put our main bearings in so we can start plastic gauging this. Now, plastic gauge is used to determine what your oil clearance between your main bearing journal and your main bearing are. Those are important figures to have. You see these bearings are all oil fed, which is nice. The old ones were not. The old ones were just straight slides, so these actually hold a little more oil on. It's a good thing. And as you work with these guys, you'll see you've got the little clip there. There's no specific order that any of these are going to go in. You just push them down in there. And when you put them in there, make sure that they're flat. You don't want to leave any of them sitting up or anything like that. Of course, that's half our bearings. All 5 of the main bearings. There's a total of 10 bearings. So what we've done here now is we've got our bottom bearings in. Now, when we're ready for assembly, we'll actually go ahead and put some assembly lube, which I love using this Lucas heavy duty stabilizer. This stuff's like honey. It goes on and it stays on for a while. So we're going to go ahead and set the crankshaft down in place. So having wiped the crankshaft off, we'll go ahead and gently set her in place. We've also not put the thrust bearings in yet because we're just going to go ahead and plastic gauge this. So that's now sitting in place. Oh, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. Plastic gauge. Now we're using the green because the green is used between 1,000th and 3,000th of an inch. And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of this to cross over in one of my journals. I'm going to put it right on top. I'm going to put it on top of each one of these. Now you do want to set it straight. Set it so it's parallel in line with the crank. It's not going to do a whole lot of good if you got it all helter-skelter. Alright. See, now what we'll do is we're going to actually torque all of our main caps all the way on with their bearings. So we have to put the bearings inside the main cap and then torque them down. What that's going to do is actually squeeze and flatten out the plastic gauge. I'll then take that flattened out measurement, and I'll measure it against this, and it will tell me about approximately where my clearance is. This isn't precision. You're not going to do this on a racing engine, but if you're just refurbing a motor to keep it chucking on down the road, works perfect.
Now these caps are numbered, aren't they, as to which order they go in?
I hope so.
5, 2, yes, they are numbered. So.
Let's go ahead and get our bearings into the main caps. And again, do all this dry. You're not doing any of this with oil yet. The whole point here is that we put these main caps down on here, and then we plug the girdle on, and we go ahead and bolt that right down in place. We want to use the girdle to push the, to squeeze the plastic. Wow. We want to use the girdle to squeeze the plastic gauge so that we can measure it. If we were to push down on this and artificially squish it a little, then we might throw off those measurements. We don't want to do that. Also, do not turn the crankshaft once you've set it on there and you've set the plastic gauge on there. That too will screw things up. Now, see this? Clearly goes there. Clearly. That's your point of reference. All right, so we'll take. They've got our clean. It's got some WD-40 on it right now, that's why it's a little glossy. But we'll drop this down in place. All right. Now I'm going to start tightening these down by hand while Keeb goes and looks in the book to find out what the torque specs are, because I don't know. Now, we'll say with this being thick aluminum girdle here, I'm certain we're not going to tighten. You don't ever tighten just like straight across and straight around. You're going to work either in, out, or out, in. I prefer to go in, out, but we'll see what Honda says. So as we go and set this on, you want to make sure you've got every one of these oil galleys lined up correctly as you go to get everything situated in place. See, I'm just tapping everything in here just to make sure that I've got the galley or the main girdle fully lined up. So now the main girdle, the main caps, all get torqued to 33 foot-pounds. So I'm going to do is start here on the inside, work my way out, and I'm going to do it in 3 increments. And that's pretty standard for any kind of machine work that you're doing. You can always work your way up in three separate increments. I'm going to go 11, 22, and then 33. That's why I make sure everything goes in nice and smooth. Now I'm going to move up 22 foot-pounds. 22. I'll go back over it, same way. Now you probably see a lot of guys that as they work on these, well, as they work on most anything actually, when they use a torque wrench, I see them, they'll come around and then click it a second time. The second click doesn't do anything. The reason for that is once you've stopped moving, you have an initial friction that you have to overcome in order to actually make that bolt turn. What you want to do when you're setting your torque is make sure that you are actively rotating at the time the clicker clicks. So keep moving. The second time I go to do this, it'll never go any further. Now a bit of scraping here. Does it go? Okay, fire anyone. That is actually thread friction inside there. What you'll find is that, again, when you're race prepping an engine, one of those little tricks they'll do is either use oil or a little anti-seize on the threads. Alright, so I'm just going to go across and check every one of these again, just to make it absolutely certain I didn't miss any. Because then what we're going to do, let's take it all apart and check our plastic gauge. Again, very important, do not rotate the crank at all in any of this. also, when you get through using your torque wrench, even temporarily, always loosen it back up. Keeps you from leaving tension on the spring. So now we need a brake bar. Tighten in 3 passes. When you break anything loose, try to do it in 3 passes as well, especially if it's something that's been torqued to spec. Break it loose just a little. Break them all loose just a little. The reason for this is to prevent warpage. You don't want to take a chance of warping anything. And again, this is not specific to a Honda. This is general practice for anything unless otherwise specified by the manufacturer. Some manufacturers might want to do things their own way. They might want to be all fancy. That's fine. It's their property. They can do that. As for me, I don't want to take a chance of warping my nice cast, I guess Keeb's nice cast main girdle here. Now this time I can just start breaking loose. Get them all the way loose. Just set it off somewhere. Now we want to pull our main cap off, nice and gentle like. Which can sometimes be a royal pain. You can rock it back and forth a little bit, but don't go crazy. There we go. Alright. I'll start off with just this one to show you guys how this works. Alright, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see this with the glare of the light. I don't know if I can do anything about that, but the plastic gauge is actually squished out right here. Of course, in the middle it's not squished because of the groove. No, not the oil, the groove.
Oil groove.
Oh, over there you go. Yeah. So what we do is we take this guy down here in inches, and we want to see how far it's squished. It is almost right at 002. It's definitely not at 0015. Definitely sitting at 002, like on the money 002. Service limit was
002.
So this would be one of those cases, and we're going to check all of these the same exact way, and then we'll just clean the plastic gauge off. So this is still just barely within limits. If there were available you used to be able to get .001 main bearings that would basically go on a used crank like this. I haven't seen those in ages. Let's see how this looks on this back journal. Now see how it's a little wider than 002, but it's not as wide as 015. We're in between 015 and 002 right there. Might be 0175, somewhere in there. It's difficult to say with any kind of certainty. What we do know is that we have not exceeded 002. Alright, so now we've plastic gauged this and we've seen that it is within specification. We're gonna cough. We're gonna break out our Lucas Honey. I'm not a fan of this stuff for running in a normal vehicle. It is too damn thick. It gets too frothy and oily, but it works great for initial fire up. So what we're doing is we're smearing some on the journals.
Apply with.
Oh yes, very much applied liberally. Make sure you get a good coat in here on this. Get a nice thick coating. Now we need to put our thrust washers in here in the center. So what we're going to do is go ahead and take a little more Lucas goo. This part goes in. This is the part that rides on the bearing. So go ahead and set this all in place. Like so. Was it really just a 2? Should have been 3 or 4.
I've been 4. There's only 2 cutouts for him, so.
No, because there'd be one on the back side of the thrust bearing too. Oh, there's not. That's interesting. Honda only chose to have the thrust bearing on half of it. Alright, It's their call. They're the engineers. I'm not going to second guess them. Now we'll take our crankshaft. We're going to very gently try not to knock our damn thrust washers out. Alright. Now what we want to do is, hear that little bit of play I've got? That's your end play. That's how we test the thrust washers next. Make sure that's all the way down in there. What is the end play on the crankshaft? We gotta look that up. I mean, I'm still recording. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? Yes, it's still recording. Thank God. He gave me the wrong specs. It's 49 foot-pounds. Which, yes, you're right. Would have simply
put it more in spec.
That would put you more in spec. You were out on the outer edge of spec with 33 foot-pounds. So yes, it's 40. All right. The next part is checking the crankshaft end play. I've taken the crankshaft and pushed it all the way forward. Now what I'll do is, without disturbing any of my dial indicator apparatus, is I'm going to take this and push it forward. All the way as far as it'll go. Count 1, 2, 3, 4th thou end play is what I have here. So with 4th thou end play, I'm within spec. Spec is 4 to 14. I can do it again. From 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 4.5 thou. It's still within spec. So our thrust is good. So the crank is in, and we can actually spin it a little now. Isn't that nice? I wouldn't recommend it just because the thrust washers are still in there. But we actually have some Lucas on there, so of course everything's okay. We need to put all of our main caps back on, and before we do that, we need to, of course, put some lubricant. So same as the bottom, we're just going to slather this with some Lucas. Look how sticky this stuff is. It's like honey. This stuff will go in there and just stay. There's number 1. Number 2. Make sure you follow the arrows. Make sure they're all pointing forward. Alright, here's the last main cap. Keeb's over there finishing cleaning the pistons. Alright, let me get our main girdle. Let's get our main girdle in place. Go ahead and torque it down to 49 foot-pounds. Same deal as before. Make sure we get everything lined up nice and neat on there. Don't want anything misaligned. There we go. Be afraid to tap it, but don't beat on with a hammer. There we go. All the way down on there. I'm not worried about pushing down or anything on here now because plastic gauge has already been done. I know I have no journals that are going to be way out of spec. I'm very happy about that. So since I got to do 49 foot-pounds, we'll do it in 3 stages. I'll probably do, I don't know, 15, 30, and then 49. Doesn't have to be perfectly split in 3. Be hard to do with 49 anyway. Once this is on, we'll start sliding our pistons and all in. We'll have to get our piston rings onto the pistons. We'll basically assemble the pistons. We'll get the piston rods in, or the piston rings and all in. We'll get the pistons themselves in. That's going to be a whole ordeal. Keith, we probably won't get the short block done today, dude. Or at least we're not going to get the short block done like soon. Let's start off 15 foot-pound. Crankshaft is now torqued to spec. Now one of the things I like to do once I crank the torque in, or my God, once I torque the crank in, is I should still be able to rotate this over with no difficulty. As you can see, I am barely even pressing on it. It rotates nice and smooth. And I can grab the front of this and just spin it right over. Nothing to it. And that's what we want to see. It's not binding anywhere. It feels good, smooth rotation all throughout. Very happy with that. Not going to put the rear main on just yet. Next up, like I said, we'll go ahead and do the, we got spinner over actually, will be the next step. Next, we need to go ahead and check the fit of the rings in the block. And we're going to separate out the rings based on first ring, second ring, and then the oil ring pack for 1, 2, 3, and 4 as we set this all up. We got to check each and every single ring for each and every single hole, and then keep those together. Those ones that I say go to hole number 2, they all go together on the piston number 2, and they're going to all go in all together as one unit. So it's a little tedious, but it's worth it in the end.